There has been mixed reaction to President Cyril Ramaphosa's announcement to convene a national dialogue. It is hoped that the initiative will address a number of socio-economic challenges facing South Africa, including crime, poverty, and gender-based violence and femicide. In his address on Tuesday, President Ramaphosa said the national dialogue is a chance for all South Africans from all walks of life to come together and help shape the next chapter of our democracy. To discuss the significance of holding a national dialogue, we are joined by Tebogo Khaas. He's the founder and chairperson of Public Interest South Africa. Thanks for joining us, Tebogo. It's great to have you on the show. So let's get your reaction to when you heard about the national dialogue and the members of those that are going to gather first and talk. Tebogo, it seems that you're on mute. We've lost your sound. I don't know if you want to just check at your setting before I.
Can you hear me?
There we go. That's much better. We're used to doing that. So let's pick it up again. It's good to have you. So your views. Talk to us.
Yes, let me latch on your prefacing your statement when you say from all walks of South Africa. If you look at the list of eminent persons or the organizations that will be involved, I wonder if one would be convinced that that includes South Africans of all walks of life. Instead, it seems to me that it is the same crowd that would be more like an echo chamber for the president to be able to hear what they seek to hear from society. And while it is a welcome move to ensure that we take stock of what has happened, we have to be mindful of the fact that as a country, we are very wont to creating new distractions or new processes just to distract us from the real issues that need attention and actual execution. You would recall we had a moral regeneration movement. I'm surprised that I don't see it on the list of eminent organizations that will be involved because it has been rendered useless. The same with this national dialogue. You've got some of the same individuals you'd find on other presidential projects, that the Youth Employment Service, Harambe, you name them. You've got the same faces that you would find anywhere else where there's still not traction in terms of the interventions that the state has done. Be that as it may, it would be a useful tool to be able to take stock of what you do. But our biggest problem is not coming up with new dialogues or initiatives, but it is in the implementation.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly has sparked a flurry of reactions on social media. Some are hopeful, others are skeptical, and the public, I suppose, in your view, I mean, this is what a national dialogue is about. It should be representative of all walks of life from all corners, and as many have been saying, the faces are familiar, they're wonderful. But where are the people from the rural villages, those that perhaps are really bearing the brunt of a country that is not delivering on services and that live it as a daily reality? And those are the kind of faces that seem to be missing. Is that the sense that you're getting?
That is the sense that I'm getting, that it is more of an echo chamber, like I said. Yeah. And you would want to be able to draw from people who are otherwise so far unheard. Many people are actually pointing to the CODESA deliberations, where they were believed that they only included a few political parties. In fact, it was two political parties. Others would argue that it was the ANC and the National Party, and everybody else you had to toe in, or else you just fall by the side. We know what happened to the likes of ASAPO and even the PAC at the time. And here we are, the very same government and a political party that said it was ready to govern comes back to society and says, well, we just found out we were not ready to govern, but we would like to hear from you, but not all of you, some of you. That is the same mistake if we are going to continue in this fashion, and it needs to be avoided to ensure that it is as inclusive as possible. But it must have a clear mandate as to what seeks to be out of here. I get reminded as you were playing some of the pictorials on the screen about the Zondo Commission. We know with all much fanfare and promises and all that, we know after expending billions of rands on the Zondo Commission, we still don't have a prosecution prosecution, a prominent prosecution, successful prosecution out of that. Is that going to be another Zondo Commission like type of exercise through a national dialogue?
And that's the reality, is that people are tired of talk shops. And I know you've mentioned that, and that seems to be the overriding theme from a lot of people that are saying, yeah, okay, so you're going to get together, you're going to raise pertinent issues that we all know. I don't think anything new is going to be raised. And then what? Who's going to be accountable to change this and to make it different? There have been so many talk shops. Talk shops are not necessarily what we need. And these are the senses that we're getting from people, not taking away from the incredible individuals that are part of the discussions that will be coming together. However, this is not the first time we've had these discussions. We've had many of them with many outcomes. And yet, who's held accountable and who actually makes them happen? Do you think this will be different?
Not at all. Not at all. In fact, one cynic last night told me that the ANC is on its deathbed, and it's creating a situation where people will be around its bed through a national dialogue as it succumbs to the aliens that they've been going through over the 3 decades it's been in power. I'm not sure if that is the case, but if that is the case, indeed, it might very well be that it's a premonition of things to come, and we find that the ANC is out of solution. It has always been talking about renewal of itself. Now we're basically talking about renewal of the country. When we haven't seen any renewal or the ANC being capable of renewing itself, we just have ministers with the same arrogance and attitude as we've seen recently with the Minister of Health, Higher Education and Training. And what did the president do? He hasn't done anything. He just asked, look, we'll ask for a note or something like that. We still don't know if that person is. So we're still going to see the same things, because there is no decisiveness in terms of acting, even if you know what needs to be done or what is the right thing to do by society. But you still find that party politics still hold sway, and only individuals who would say things that you'd like or do things that you'd like will find favor with the president. And certainly we've also seen same echoes with what is happening with the G20 and the B20. We've seen a select groupings of individuals, business associations being invited to participate and contribute towards the discourse. You ask yourself, is that representative of the total sum of business in South Africa? No, it is not. But here we are. We're looking forward to the B20s and the G20. And it is the same pattern that we see happen, or unfortunately that's what we suspect will happen with the national dialogue.
Certainly an interesting photo just passed us by, that of Rolf Meyer. And on the front page of the Business Day today, there's a photograph of you may or may not have seen it as yet, but it is there, a picture from the first talks that were held with Rolf Meyer and Cyril Ramaphosa, our now president, certainly not the president at the time that photograph was taken, but it's a photograph and a headline that says, Ramaphosa turns to Meyer in a bid to reignite the magic. When this was at the University of Pretoria. Talk to me about that inclusion. Rolf Meyer,
We're recycling the same old people who were involved in CODESA, and we might very well be having CODESA 2.0. We've got young minds like the Vusi Thembekwayo of this world, whom I may not agree with on all politics, but we need to tap into that thinking. People that we may not necessarily share the same perspective. We've got a lot of other individuals, hitherto unknown even to myself, who may be able to raise their hand and be able to contribute meaningfully. In fact, I know organizations that have tried to reach out to the organizers, some of the organizations that are involved, including the Thabo Mbeki Foundation, to say, we would like to see if there's anything that we can contribute towards the upcoming discussions. Not even a single acknowledgement of receipt of such overtures have been made. And you ask yourself, is this a genuine attempt at finding a common cause and being able to drive a process as important as this in the national interest. Many skeptics believe that is not the case. And we are not saying that it is not important to have dialogue. We need to do that. But dialogue also begins at home, where we believe that most of the problems in our society start because that's a basic unit of society. If the home is broken, as we've seen many homes broken, problems tend to filter through into society, into a bigger malai.
So I want to talk about former President Thabo Mbeki now, because that, I think, has been the center of a lot of people's concerns. Because if we look back to, I think it was May 2024, former President Mbeki actually called for this national dialogue. He urged the ANC to convene and address the deepening social crisis. You know, this is certainly not a new idea, but he was just saying that there are concerns that our democracy is backsliding. So he was very, very vocal about this, and yet there's been no credit to him. No organization or representative from the Thabo Mbeki Foundation has been included. There's also been a lot of people saying, where's the Ahmed Kathrada Foundation? Where's the Nelson Mandela Foundation? I'm not sure if you agree that they should be represented, but certainly from the Thabo Mbeki side, perhaps an inclusion there?
I want to believe that the Thabo Mbeki Foundation must be involved. I know that they are not on the list, but certainly they've been the drivers even behind the scenes of this national dialogue. They've been entrusted with it. I know of individuals within there who were also involved in the pre-discussions around these things. I'm not sure if indeed they are not going to be involved, but certainly I've got a suspicion that they might be. Yes, the Ahmed Kathrada Foundation is not there, but we've seen the Defend Our Democracy, which is also another variation of the Ahmed Kathrada Foundation. But we haven't seen ordinary foundations or civil society organizations that are representatives of people in the peri-urban areas, rural areas, townships. We haven't seen representatives of small businesses, in their varied forms, and so forth. We are unfortunately still seeing those big captains of industry, representative of government or of big business in this initiative. We don't see small community activists or activities that are involved there. You ask yourself, if you've got a huge problem as we do now have of immigration, why is it we don't have Dudula, Operation Dudula? We may not agree with their tactics and methods and all that, but they seem to be saying we're having a problem as a country. Those are the people that you also want to draw closer and listen to, give an audience and engage and hear from their perspective as to what it is that they have to say, and not so much as to what they would need to do out of desperation. And this will be a missed opportunity if that doesn't happen.
Yeah, indeed. Look, we've all looked at that list. We've seen some of the faces that are on there, and it was wonderful to actually have them flashing across our screens. And there are some incredible voices that have been included, and perhaps some different, some very similar, that are going to speak to a lot of issues. Just finally, let's perhaps look at this in a different light, in a more optimistic light. There has been the call for the national dialogue. It is now happening, August 15th. I doubt one day is going to cut it. I really do. It's like finding world peace in one day. I don't think that's going to happen. But do we know how it's going to work? Do we have any idea as to the agenda, the goal of all of it? Has that all been addressed to us as yet, or is that something we're still awaiting to see what's going to come out?
It looks like that's what we're still awaiting to see. And it would have been ideal if that was actually published before the August meeting, for the public to make any comments, for the public to make sure that if there's a concept note that has been developed, there's contribution and critique towards that content, so that when that meeting happens in August, and by the way, August is just around the corner, then at least there is an informed premise or document that guides the discussions. It might very well be that it is the intention of the August meeting to carve something like that, but certainly to the extent that that is not public, we are none the wiser as to whether they will. I know that there's been talk. The president also mentioned 2026. We're not sure if anything will really be guided by any document or meaningful discussions that will guide the August meeting. So we certainly hope that the president should come out very openly and share with the public what it is that the statement of intent is in more detail, or at least the national dialogue as an entity should come forward with a statement that seeks to give us a framework or to an indication of what is the end game, so that the public can make commentary before the August meeting.
Yeah. As we close up, just to pick your brain, are there any faces or names that stand out as great inclusions in this? Do you think that there are some, which I think there are, but I'd love to get your ideas, that actually are the ones that are going to come forward and perhaps have that voice that may just make a massive difference?
I don't want to make it personal, but there are names that I actually have problems with, but it is a personal issue, so I wouldn't want it to actually cloud my judgment or thinking or contribution. But certainly, to the extent that we know of individuals who are not part of this, we certainly, if you look at some of the individuals, we haven't even heard about them publicly in terms of the public discourse, what their position is about the problems afflicting society. All we know that they may be great sports people, they may be great business people, they may be great entrepreneur, but we haven't hardly heard them publicly make discourse. There's a few people that we've heard, the likes of Mampile Rampile, but as I said, she's a spent force. That's somebody that has done a wonderful contribution from her BC days until today, recently. But they must be able to give way to new blood, to new thinking. We don't need old people who still might have harboring on old ideas without confronting. We need fresh blood. We need fresh thinking to make sure that they contribute to whatever new position or that the country adopts, because otherwise we're just going to have the same old same.
All right, let's leave it there. Thanks, Tebogo. Thanks very much for talking to us. Tebogo Khaas, founder and chairperson of Public Interest SA, giving us his views on President Cyril Ramaphosa's announcement to convene a national dialogue to address a number of socio-economic challenges.